Hi, I'm Tim Palmieri and I play guitar with Lotus, and we are going to do a rig run through today. Let's start with the guitar. The guitar is a Paul Reed Smith standard, and I like playing guitars that no one else plays really. Normally I'm a Strat guy, and I always have been, but for Lotus it definitely requires a humbucker sound for the thicker jazzy lines. You know, they have a lot of just jazz stuff, which I love. And although a Strat, I can compress it a lot to get it, it's still going to have that thin bite that Strats are lovely for, because I love them. So I miss you, Strats. But no, this guitar is treating me great. And nice and simple, you know, three selections here. I took that out, so no tone, because I was like accidentally hitting it, and I just want it bright all the time anyway. So nice volume. And the whammy bar is not really locked, so I could go up a tiny bit if I had to. Little Jeff Beck, but I'm more of an Eddie Van Halen kind of guy on the whammy bar. It's 10s, and I use DR strings. And when I don't have DRs, I go with Ernie balls just because, you know, they feel good as well. But DRs is primarily the string company I use. And the guitar is doing me well. As far as tunings go, Lotus is standard most of the time. We drop D for a cover song, and that's the only time I've ever dropped D, unless I'm doing some wild theatrics at the end, and you know. But you know, when you start detuning, because this isn't locked, all the tuning gets affected, and that's, you know, time is of the essence on stage. Everyone's watching you. You're like, no, tune it now. Just another guitar player out of tune. So yeah, pretty much standard tuning all the time. I had an idea with what pedals I needed, but needed to buy a few new ones because of Mike Rempel's sound. But then the whole next challenge was the order to put it in, how the cables are gonna fit. So I employed the help of my friend Kyle Travis, and he worked with Twiddle and building Mahali's pedalboard, and so he was kind enough to help me out. And I want to say it took 3 tries to get it here. You know, like I said, we had pedals in different places, had to practice on it, and then it came to this. So Kyle did a great job. Thank you, Kyle. I don't exactly remember the signal path. I do for the most part, but we had to make a few things work because there's actually more pedals than inputs, so we combined some. But I really like using my effects prior to distortion when it comes to modulation and whatnot. So we'll get into that. You plug into the wah. The wah doesn't need a switch, you just click it on and off. I guess let me talk about this. The super switcher, I liked because when a pedal craps out, you know, the whole chain would go. So now a pedal can crap out and I could still have my sound. So that was huge. I needed one. I shopped a few different kinds, and what made me like this one was it had a tap tempo built in, and it had a booster, just for a slight bit. Oh, I gotta be a tiny bit louder in my solo. This thing can do a ton of stuff that I don't even tap into. The potential is huge of combining effects and all that. So for pop acts that, you know, have 5 sounds at one time for a specific verse or chorus, this is a great pedal as well. But I'm using it pretty, you know, crudely, I guess you could say. Yeah, we go into the wah, the tuner's off on the side. After the wah is going to be the modulation stuff. So we got the Keeley Neutrino, which is an envelope filter, the Jerry Garcia duck sound. Then we have Pitchfork electro harmonics for octave, whether up or down. But it's more down than up. But you know, there's so many effects and there's so much to do already. It's like you have to really be like, okay, I gotta use this. You know, you gotta keep these sounds dialed in so that you can just jump into them quick because the song's moving fast. After that, we have this guy. I want to say he's before the distortion, but he actually might be. The Strymons are a tiny bit noisy. I don't know if you can hear that. No, you can't really hear it, unfortunately. But they just make a little bit of a whine sound. So I think we had to run this after so it wouldn't amplify. But this does everything from your phasers, flangers, Univibe, Leslie, all sorts of weird stuff. I'll show you some of the cool sounds. And I never bought this pedal before, but I knew that the guitarist previous to me, Mike Rempel, he used it, and I did like a lot of his tones when it came to stuff like that. So, you know, to help preserve the Lotus sound and make a nice transition, I wanted to buy a few things that he had, and this was one of them. We have the compressor. I liked this compressor because it has a humbucker feature, single coil humbucker. To me, humbuckers almost don't need compression, because they're already putting out such a loud sound. It's in your face. So I didn't want to squash anything too much. I like preserving a natural tone, but then just limiting it a little bit top and bottom and sending that out. So yeah, the compressor, I use it lightly, but I am treating the tone with it for sure. This is my distortion, TC Electronic Nova Drive. They do not make these anymore. I purchased them used, and until the last one, once the last one's gone, I have to find my tone again, as all of us have to when things get, you know, out of date, unfortunately. But what I like about this is, you know, natural is my clean, then I have my crunch, I have my distortion, my more crunch, and then I got shred. So I have 4 gain stages: clean, crunch, more crunch, shred, which is nice. And they're combined on it, so this always stays on because I always want access to that, you know. And it took a while for this whole pedal board to take the shape it had to be, because I had to play in the moment to realize its functionality. Like, oh, I can't have that pedal there. I need access to it. So this one, we moved around, and I was like, yeah, this is my right-hand man. After this, we go over here to the DD3, nice and old school. This is my spaceship pedal, because when you put it on infinite, I could like, so it's like my spaceship, fun, painting kind of pedal. The DD5, this is a Lotus classic. A lot of guitarists in the electronica field use DD5s more so than some of the newer stuff. Tom Hamilton of Brothers Past also told me about it. What's great is when you hook this up to a tap tempo, and it's hooked up to over here, you can have a few presets that are like specifically quarter notes, specifically dotted eighths, regular eighths, and then triplets. And so for some of their songs, there's these classic patterns and parts that you just need that sound, and it makes it nice and easy that my tap's here. There is a tap over here, but this one's a little trickier. You know, I have to like be a balanced yogi master to hit it just right. So having this tap down here just for this guy was an important feature and sold me on purchasing this unit. Then it goes over to the Eventide H9. This is another pedal that I need to tap into its power because of what it can do. It's amazing, hooks up to the phone, ton of presets already available, and if you want to tweak the algorithms, you could have so much fun, save it to a computer. So I use this is like my auxiliary, what would you call it? I don't know, just all the other sounds these other pedals couldn't make. So some reverbs, some weird effects and shimmers, maybe a Leslie if I needed it to, swelling. This is like a spaceship ray gun sound. You know what I mean? Stuff that I almost don't even use all the time, but I use it more for some certain reverbs. I'd like to get into the fuzzes and make more of my own, but I just haven't yet because there's so much here. The last in the chain, number 8, we have the Strymon Timeline. Another pedal that I never really used, but saw Rempel using it, so I wanted to include some of that. And this is great. This is an all-purpose delay, you know? I made little cheat sheets at first to tell me where I put the sounds, you know? So 0 is your basic, like, quarter note, dotted eighth. And then I have, you know, a reverse here and some other stuff. But this is all-purpose in general. And if it can't do it here, then I go to these guys. But certain tunes almost have multiple delays. So one song, this might be the feature delay, you know, then another song, this is the feature delay, and then this is secondary to that. So it's interesting, depends on the tune. After all that's said and done, we go to a Maxon. tube booster overdrive pedal. So I don't even use this for overdrive. I have everything down, but it cranks the tone and it just takes the volume up. After running through all these pedals, your signal degrades, and I just wanted to condition it with a tube and get some more juice out of it, you know? I forgot, this is an expression pedal for the Strymon timeline. So volume in and out, that's basically it. Because sometimes you don't want the delay so pronounced on top. It has to be sitting just underneath. So I'm constantly playing with all throughout the show. And I like my volume pretty loud in the ears so I can feel the subtleties of that volume change. Last but not least, Holy Grail. Constant reverb on all the time. I don't bother with amp reverb. Sometimes you don't get to play your own amp and you're playing on somebody else's and the coil's broken. So this confirms I will always have reverb, and makes me sleep better at night. All right, so the amp, it's a Supro, and this is a prototype. They never made another one like it. It's 60 watts, and it has a 12-inch speaker and a 10-inch. These were hemp cones, which I think the company later abandoned for different speakers. And I had them install a middle knob on it because they didn't have a middle knob. So they put that around back underneath. And I run it at 60 because I really want a true clean tone. And then I'll add the crunch, you know? Yes, I'm looking for tube saturation, but I really don't want any crunch at all in the front. So I like a little more firepower. You know, I've played on a lot of 100-watt amps, Mesa Boogie, Fender Twins, but I was really liking Supro's sound. I don't know, just warm, soupy. It's beautiful. So it has reverb, but I don't use it. Like I said, it has vibrato. I don't use that either because I get it all over here. Treble's cranked. It's super bassy, so you got to watch the bass depending on the room. And they allow me to run it pretty hot, which I appreciate. Let's dial it in a little bit. Nice and clean. I forgot to mention Exotic Effects Wah has a lot of options on the side here. So, you know, I'm used to Vox Wahs and some Crybabies, so having to really dial in took me a while to figure out. But I'm liking it. It's deep, it's throaty, it's got all the wetness you need. Okay, now we got our crunch. And what's great is, you know, when you use crunch, now your volume really gives you a lot of expression. So I could go way low. And it's almost like a clean tone, yet not, you know? So when you think I have 4 gain stages, think of it as like 0 through 40 now. You know, you could put on a gain stage at 2, and then I could ride the volume down, so now I'm in 16, 15, you know? So there's a lot of room. That's the Mobius. This is a classic phaser sound that is in a lot of Lotus. Faster. You know, a lot of tremolo. Adjust the speed. The Jerry, you know. Flick the switch, you go up an octave. I like about that is it's like a steel drum sound almost. Spaceship delay. There we go. Every now and again. So that one's fun. We got the Eventide here. Big reverb. So it's got a lot of nice reverbs. I guess is how I use it. So because this one's generic, that's just a spring reverb, and I didn't want to like mess with it throughout the performance. So this one gets those new school kind of sounds, you know. Ultra swell. Melting. The only thing is you got to be careful. When you turn it off, it's gone immediately. So you got to really know how you're using it. And that's why I love delay at the end too, because any sound I send here, then it'll trail off, you know. But then, yeah, so this is your basic quarter note. Dotted eighth. Which everyone knows this because of Run Like Hell, you know. Pink Floyd. But I'm an Eddie Van Halen fan, so I actually know it from Eddie doing a Cathedral. That kind of vibe. Which he probably got it from David Gilmour. So thank you very much for letting me do this and tuning in. And I hope it helps you on your discovery of tone and how you want to apply it in a live setting. And yeah, come on down to a Lotus show to hear it all in action. LotusVibes.com, LotusVibes at Bandcamp.com, and then my personal website, TimPalmieri.com. And I would love to rock and roll for you. Thank you.